What is up, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of Our 60 Journey. My name is Lucas, and I'm here to help us build healthy relationships. So I was sitting here meditating, and I was just kind of like seeing images of different ways to apply pressure through force, through going underwater, through fire, like that's changing basically the density of an object. Okay, it's what I was visualizing in my mind. And all of a sudden, I had this huge connection to that's what so many of us do in our relationships. We apply pressure. And even if, because this is what happens, is that if you start talking about whether or not you apply pressure to relationships, we can go and deny it all we want. But even if we're doing it inside of our mind or inside of our heart, having a wish or a hope or an intention of making something more than it is right now, then what happens is that we are applying pressure. Like, even if it's only subconsciously and psychically, that pressure is now in the room and it's being emitted energetically onto the dynamic of the relationship. Sorry, I just made a really judgy face, like, my God, people see it. But it's like, that happens so often. And it's our pressures that we apply energetically. It's what really leads to the problems in the relationship, because then we're no longer living present in the moment. And I told a client something this morning through a chat. I said, you have to remember that nothing lasts forever. As Oracle says in the Matrix, everything that has a beginning has an end. And all relationships at some point will come to an end, unless you have a belief system that says that from the moment time began and until time ends, me and this person, their atom and my atom of our souls are meant to be together from beginning to end forever for more. Then that's not how it goes. We move through relationships. And sometimes there's this karmic energy that shows up because say we have a certain dynamic of energy with a parent, say it's a mother, and then we start replicating that energy dynamic with all female bosses, or with all female lovers or friends, or lovers in general. If we replicate the energy, then now that relationship that we have with that person is living in the moment because we're repeating the pattern, and it's now forever. We carry. And that, to me, I don't like the way that feels, that I'm going to carry all of the trauma and suffering and things that aren't working for anymore, but behaviorally, with me through all the new relationships. You wouldn't do that. And because I don't do that, my belief system says we move through relationships. And that relationship might last 2 weeks. It might last 2 years. It might be 5 years on and off. You might meet them, get married, and stay married until you both die at the same time. But even then, the relationship's now over. That life has been lived. That energy, that lesson, that karmic cycle has been lived, unless you want to repeat it again. And that, to me, I would not want to repeat them again, because if you already went through the experience and learned the lesson, I want a new experience and a new lesson. And for some people, that might be stressful, going to new, basically hard times. You're always moving from one hard time to another, which lead to good times and then another. Like, you're always changing. Some people that might be why people make behavioral patterns in relationships, is because they'd rather just live the same trauma over and over because they've already handled it and they know how. I wouldn't do that. And so, looping it back into what I was talking about earlier, is that if you're living now and in the present moment, you're not applying pressure, and you're letting each moment be its own, you can move through wisdom. You know, there's better ways to respond and more improved ways of seeing and perceiving the situation. But on top of that, just letting it happen. And underneath it, just letting it happen. And the possible front and the possible back of the future and past, and the two sides, juxtaposition, bipolarity of what are the two extremes of best and worst. Take all that away and just be here and don't apply pressure. It's what feels the best. And I'm saying this to myself and thinking to myself, do you do that all the time, Lucas? Do you? And no, I don't. I fall in it too. I fall in it too on a regular basis, into the pressure I want to apply to make things exactly as I want them to be. And it's funny how I'm going to wrap this up because it's been only 5 minutes. I want to make a short video. we can create an intention of what we would like to do, and then we can just let it happen. We can put the orchestration on it, but then still being fulfilled no matter what with how everything's turning out, trusting that this is for the better. That is a step one of a list. See you guys later.